Hello, and welcome to the 4th episode of Side of the Desk, and the first one of 2023. I cannot believe it's 2023 already. Each month I'll be chatting to influential industry leaders to explore their journey to success, and more importantly, the role recruitment played throughout. We are currently streaming live on LinkedIn and YouTube for you to watch or listen instantly, or if you can't join us today, don't stress, I get it that life is busy. Joining me today, and you can see from the excitement on my face, joining me today is Faye Sharpe. Faye is the founder of the award-winning and, might I say, awesome Fast Forward 15 program. Faye was awarded an OBE in 2022 for her work in equality, mentoring and charity. She's also the founder of Fast Forward 15, which, if you don't know, you've obviously been in the cave, but it's an award-winning, not-for-profit industry mentoring program. Faye was actually awarded the Honorary Doctorate by the University of West London and has so many awards under her belt, from being Mentor of the Year in 2017 to winning M&IT Personality of the Year, not once, but twice. And to be honest, too many to mention. Faye is one of the founders of Zibrant, which was one of the largest full-service UK agencies, which was then acquired by BCD Meetings and Events. And she was on the chair of trustees for the Muscle Health Foundation, which is a charity champion. She's also an entrepreneur, which we all know, and a mum of 2. So, deep breath for me. Welcome, Faye, to Side of the Desk. Would you like to add anything to that amazing introduction?
No, wow, I think you've done me proud there, Robert. Thank you very much. It's an honour to be here and lovely to speak to you this morning. And is it too late to say Happy New Year?
I don't know. Someone said that to me earlier. I think if you haven't spoke to someone in January, it's fine to say Happy New Year. That's what I reckon.
There we go.
So listen, everyone, before we get started, we are live, which means you can share your comments and thoughts in the comment box if you want to. Please introduce yourself, let us know where you are in the world, and we will grab those as we go through. But let's now get started with the questions. So Faye, you and I have known each other quite a long time, not as long as I actually thought. It's only been about 5 or 6 years. It feels like about 10 or 15 that we've known each other, but everybody knows what you do in the sector. What I wanted to start with was actually, how did you get into the sector? How did you get into events in the very beginning?
Okay, so I started off, I did a hotel management degree down in Bournemouth, and I actually applied for lots of graduate programs which were hospitality / catering. So I got 3 offers, one for the BBC in London, one for a company called Aramark that was a catering company, and the third one was for a graduate trainee program with Hilton Hotels. And I was about to start one of the jobs, and I had a last minute panic and didn't do it, and ended up taking the job with Hilton. So I was on site in a property doing all of the jobs you do in a hotel, whether it be housekeeping. I mean, it was a nightmare. Not my cup of tea at all. However, what it did, it gave me a brilliant base to to understand how hospitality works and what you need to do to put an event on, because venues and hotels all have housekeeping, have catering, etc. But anyway, I was doing that, and I really didn't like it very much. I had a really tough boss, and we were really dead on the weekends. We had no business. During the week we were packed. It was in Basingstoke, so it wasn't a very exciting location either. And full in the week, empty in the weekends. And he said to me, right, I'm going to give you a task of, you need to fill the weekends. So I thought, okay, what can I do? And I thought, well, what happens on weekends? Well, people stay, yes, but there's also weddings, right? Oh, yeah. So I came up with doing a wedding show, which I had no idea what I was doing. I went out and found florists. I found a cake company, hairdressers. I got a bridal company, and did this amazing show. Had 1,000 people through the doors, and booked something like 23 weddings on that event. So and obviously they were over the moon with me, because and I thought, oh, I quite like this events business, and I quite like selling. So those 2 things went well. And then my next thing was I joined the sales team at Hilton, and sold meetings and events. So, and that was really my journey into events.
Do you mind me asking when that was?
God, that's a difficult question. I think it's about in the 80s, early 80s. I mean, I've been in the industry a long time. I know I look gorgeous, but I'm very young. But that was, in the 80s, early 80s. So, and then obviously I worked for Hilton Hotels. I went up the ranks. I was the youngest ever director of sales in the UK. Again, half of the time I didn't know what I was doing because I was learning on the job. But I think it's all about attitude. I had the attitude that, I would do my best and I would work hard. And I think people always knew that I would do that. And I had a little bit of fake it till you make it sort of thing. I was like, okay, put the front on, put my, and someone talked to me recently about an age thing, feeling when you're very young, feeling like you're, everyone else in the room is older than you. Well, I had that too. I always used to feel like, oh my God, no one's going to take me seriously because I'm like 20 something. So I went out and bought all these really sort of very formal, quite old fashioned suits from Winsmore and Tracy and what have you, with like, almost like Margaret Thatcher type look. It was like almost like a suit of armor. It gave me a confidence that when I went into a meeting, I always felt very smart, very immaculate, and very well put together. So I would definitely recommend that. That's really important when you go into meetings and stuff, and you're speaking at something, to wear your best outfit that makes you feel good.
It's interesting because obviously with the whole, like a lot of people working from home now, office attire has changed. And I always get asked about interviews. Yes. And the easy thing for me, I just say, go on their website. You can't be overdressed for an interview. But you can be underdressed, can't you? You can turn up and be like, oh, hang on.
Yeah, I think there's a middle ground. I think obviously, I won't even. So I used to, when I ran the sales team at Hilton, I didn't let my lady team wear trousers initially.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, we all wore dresses or skirts, etc. And then obviously things change. I mean, this is history, isn't it? You sort of,
No.
And people, all the ladies in the team, are like, hey, we want trouser suits. What, I'm like, okay, do it. So, I think for interviews now, you're right. Everything's changed. I mean, I think really carefully before I go to a meeting to match who I'm meeting. So, but I do think that doesn't mean to say you can't have your hair done and have, make your hair look nice and have a little bit of makeup on if that's what you wear, and a nice top or, something that looks good. I think scruffy is not a good look. It's put together elegance, as it were.
And you mentioned it was the 80s when you sort of went hospitality events. So to get into hospitality in the first place, what was that journey? Was it seen as a career of choice then? Did you go to any colleges or anything, or?
So basically, I mean, I went to a really not very good school in Bristol, comprehensive school, inner city Bristol. And it was like a bit of a fight for my life sort of thing. And I come from a council house background, so we didn't have any money. And my family my dad passed away. My family were pushing me to work because, so I never asked my mum for any money because she didn't really have any. So I went, but I was always doing things like, I just do things and make things happen. So I think a friend of mine and I went off to Italy for, we saved all our pennies from working part-time and went off on a coach. And we got back, and I was meant to go to the school's A-level, but they didn't actually want me because I was a bit of a troublemaker. Because I was always like,
No, not you, Faye. Yeah. I can't believe it.
But I think what it was is I was fed up with being told I wasn't going to make it, or I wasn't going to. My teachers were very much derogatory. And I think a lot of people that are successful, you'll find that during their life somewhere they've had a lot of put downs. My maths teacher said that I would never amount to anything. I got in trouble for things I didn't do. So it was quite tough. So I decided to go to college, and I went to catering college and just did hotel management in Bristol. That was 2 years, and then after that I went on and did hotel management at Bournemouth.
Oh, okay. I didn't know Bristol. I lived in Bristol for 13 years.
It's like an A-level alternative, you know. It's a vocational versus a academic, and that's why I say to people, don't ever get hung up about academia. You don't have to have all A stars as long as you've done your absolute best and you do something you love and you're passionate about. So and then I went off to Bournemouth with absolutely no money at all. Worked like 5 jobs to pay for myself. So, you know, I bought myself a moped, and it's hilarious, me on a moped.
I'm hearing a whole different Faye the Rebel, Faye the council estate, Faye the moped rebel.
yeah. Well, I used to have to do breakfast shifts in the morning before I went to uni. So the only way I could get to breakfast at like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning was to have my own transport. I couldn't afford a car until later. So I bought a little moped. So I just zoom around on my moped to my breakfast shifts. And then after uni, I'd go and do a bar shift in the evening. I also worked in a golf club and I worked in a hairdresser's. So, you know, but that was no choice.
Yeah. It's a bit different now, but let's not get into nowadays and all that. Just before I get on to the next question, there's quite a few people watching. Please feel free to jump in, ask some questions. You know, Faye, everybody knows that Faye and I talk a lot anyway, so please jump in. We will answer questions. Not an issue.
I've got my tea here. I'm a tea addict, so I've got my tea here too. So that'll keep me going between the questions.
You'll be all right. So we talked there about how you got into it, and it is, you know, and look, there's a lot of this conversations around. Have you heard of quiet quitting and things like that? Have you heard that phrase recently about a lot of sort of next gen or new people into the industry, you know, saying, this is my job, I'm not going to do anything outside of that? I don't like the phrase quiet quitting. It sounds a bit mean, but sorry to sound like an old man, it was different, wasn't it? Isn't it? With that change that you've seen with the industry now, like what keeps you in it? What keeps you energized, Faye? What keeps that sort of passion going for you?
So I think 2 things. I'm a naturally ambitious person. So I'm curious. I would say I'm a naturally curious person. So I'm always like looking at things thinking, oh, could I do that? Or, you know, and I try to practice what I preach in that I do put myself outside my comfort zone on a regular basis to do things that sort of slightly scare me or make me think, oh, I need to think about that. So that's number 1. And I think number 2, I love success. I love being successful and relevant. You know what I mean? If you want to stay relevant, then you've got to keep doing things, right? You can't just sit back and let everything happen around you. I mean, I'm not the sort of person who's going to be sat doing a knitting course, you know. I'll be going for a long time. So and then the third thing that I found, which has probably been brilliant for my mind and mental health and also is yoga and meditation. So that feeds into my positive outlook, and I adopt I'd say a 99% positive outlook.
Oh, that's interesting you mentioned it, because I think you spoke previously, was it last year, you went traveling, didn't you, or career break, and that's something that's a lot more now. One thing I'm really quite positive about the pandemic, and I do try to take that out, is that we talk about mental health a lot differently now, in that we want to do so, whereas before mental health was like, okay, we know it's there and we'll try if you're on breakdown, basically, but now we sort of are trying to get ahead of it. Your time you took out, was that career-wise? What did you learn? Would you recommend that for people in the industry?
Well, I did that because my son Jamie was going to university in last September, and you know, I'm very close family. I love my children. They are, you know, everything to me. So we wanted to do something together that was like you know, like one of those moments in life that you always look back and go, oh my God, that was fantastic. So you know, I sat there and said, what do you want to do? And he wanted to go diving in the Galapagos, and I wanted to do Machu Picchu. So I said, okay, let me put together a trip where we do both. So we spent a month crossing the Andes we went on the Andean Explorer. We went to Titicaca. Wow. We did a 5-day trek over Salcantay Pass, which was actually quite hideous, but incredible. It's one of those things where at the time you're going, oh my God, why am I doing this? And you're nearly dying from not being able to breathe. But then when you finish it, you're like, oh, that was the best thing I ever did. And then obviously we finished at Machu Picchu, and then we flew down to Ecuador, and we went to the Galapagos Isles and snorkeled and Jamie dived, and it was just incredible. So yeah, but I do that a lot. I'm going to Nepal on the 22nd of March, so I'm going to Nepal, and I'm going to go and look into yoga there, Buddhism, all that sort of thing, just out of interest. It sort of interests me, and go and see Kathmandu and stuff like that. So yeah.
And do you find that refreshes you? Do you think there's like a sort of reset for work as well, or is it just definitely more entertainment sort of thing?
So the trips I do are generally not a reset.
It doesn't sound calm.
No, I mean, I think they're just. I don't get me wrong. I do lots of trips where I'm just like going to relax, and I also ski. So I've just been skiing. But and I'm very lucky. I mean, I'm not lavish. I don't spend tons of money. I do things, economically, because even though I'm successful and stuff, I'm mindful of that sort of thing. But I do my relaxing holidays, which I love, which are just where, you're going to chill. But I also try and put in at least one a year where it's a little bit different, and I'm seeing something that maybe I'm learning about, or something that is a bit different. And I think that's a good thing for anybody to, and that's good for your mind and your soul as well.
Yeah, I think not everyone can take a long period of time off, but I've definitely found I've done it for about the last 3 or 4 years. And on a Monday I have one of my boys on a Monday, and I go trampolining, and I just ended up saying on my out of office, it says I'm trampolining. Basically, I'm not going to come back to you till the end but I always put something like, if you want to give me money, and you wouldn't believe how many people appreciate that sort of upfront. Now, my wife did say to me, quite interestingly, and obviously leading into your fast forward, she said, can you imagine if I put that in my out of office though? She said, can you imagine if I put, I'm not going to answer? And I was like, oh, I never thought of it like that. And it's something you alluded to earlier throughout your career there, about how people saw you. Like, what's recruitment what's recruitment been like for you, career? I'm talking about you being recruited, not recruiting at the moment. How have you found that?
Okay, well, I've hardly ever been recruited, because obviously, so in the first instance, my first sort of recruitment experience was at uni, and that was the sort of the milk round, where they used to go around and do the seeing people, and that's a great story. So I met a guy called Dave Allen, who was the head of HR for Hilton Hotels, Ladbroke Hilton then it was. And he gave us all a form to fill in, which you basically had to mark yourself out of 10 on 20 points. So it was like punctuality, all the different things that I guess they wanted. So I just marked myself. I thought, God, I've got no idea how I'm a student. I've got no idea. So I just marked myself 10 or 11 on all of them. And when I met him, I saw he'd written on his pad precocious. That was, so he said to me, well, how can you be 10 or 11 on all these things? I said, well, to be honest with you, Dave, I don't know yet, because I am actually not in a job. But if I don't believe in me, how can you? And he literally gave me a space straight away. So I was like, okay, this confidence works. So it's confidence, not arrogance. That's what I would say. Maybe a little bit arrogant when I was younger, but I'd say now, definitely, you've got to remember to be humble and to believe in yourself, but not in the right way.
And what's your own experience of being then? And we're talking all round recruitment. Like, what does recruitment mean to you? Okay. Maybe the last sort of 5-10 years, maybe the last 5 years where we've seen that big change.
Yeah. So it's really interesting, because I've seen my daughter go through recruitment. Because she obviously left uni and she started looking for a job. And I think, to be really honest with you, and I'm not just saying this is because it's you, I actually think you have more credibility if you go through a recruiter.
Really?
Yes. I mean, it's when she was looking for jobs, I was helping her, and we were going on LinkedIn, we were putting CV. I mean, we did all sorts of stuff. We actually, she actually got an interview with Aless, who we did that through. I think we sent them a cupcake or something to the head of recruitment and said, with their logo on, saying, some sort of strapline we made up or whatever. Basically, she wasn't getting the level of interviews I would expect for someone in her position, having a university degree, also being very bright, all the extra things she'd done. She just was getting regrets. And then suddenly she went to recruiter, and she was being interviewed by everybody.
I think the thing is there, and look, hey, I'm not ever going to tell people, but you know, one of the things I'm a big fan of is not actually going to recruiters first. You know, if you're an employer sort of thing. I think the thing is, if you're going to approach companies directly, the worst people you can go to is the recruitment team or the HR team.
Yeah.
Because like they've all got a list of jobs that are live to be filled. That's what they're paid to do.
Yeah.
So if you're not like clicked across in the jobs they got, then why would they wait? You know, and they'd feel it as a waste of time. If you're going to proactively say, like you were going to BCD, I'd go one step above. I'd go to the boss of the whole division you want to work in, because that person will see it and think, and trust me, that person will think, oh, I don't have to pay a fee to a recruiter, and I've got someone in my hand. And they will push that to the team and say, meet Felicity, not Felicity.
Felicity, Felicity.
And, you know, they'll say, I want someone to meet Felicity because look at her CV, and it will happen. So proactive approaches is great, but don't go to recruiters and HR because they've just got a day job.
Yeah, well, I don't need to do that, obviously, but you know,
well, you don't, do you? I'm surprised you didn't have her say like, do you know who I am? Do you know who my mum is?
Yeah, I'm sure she does do that now, but she's now very successful. She's been promoted several times. She's at Grayling PR, so she's doing really well. So yeah, and she loves it. So it's a thing. So generally, I would say, I mean, when I was at BCD / Zibrant, what I would like is recommendations. I would like to see people that had either I knew through connections, or they bothered to connect with me and send me a message on LinkedIn, or someone had said, or they worked with someone that I knew and this person said, yes, they're really good. And I think you cannot beat, it's the same in sales. You cannot beat a recommendation. It trumps everything. It's the ace card, because if I said to someone, I really recommend this person, I'm sure most people would go full face, not going to give her her endorsement to someone unless, which is absolutely true, I wouldn't. So I think that is really good. And I think with recruitment, I think one thing I'd say to all employers out there, please, 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 if someone does apply directly to you, just send them a response. It's one of my things I really feel bad about for you know, the youth of today, that, you know, they're trying their best to get a job, etc., whether it's through a recruiter or directly. Just send them a response. You know, sorry that you haven't got it, because it's soul destroying when you're sending out hundreds of CVs and no one replies.
One of the worst parts of my job, because you know that I reply to everyone, I think it's a done thing. One of the worst parts of my job is getting emails back from people saying, thank you for taking the time to apply, or I really appreciate, and you just think, oh my God, like this should be a standard thing, but you know, it's painful. Now with your experience now, and we talked about how long you've been in the industry, so don't take this the wrong way, but you know, recently I wrote a blog about recruiting for over 50s, which I believe you're just over, aren't you? So we can just
that's my stage age.
We can talk about that. But it was interesting to me because there is a lot of discussion. And obviously, when I come to the Fast Forward 15 stuff, which is amazing, we will get onto that. It's a really great mix of people. I've noticed it's not just next gen and junior tech. We have this massive thing around the next gen, the talent pipeline. What do you see any changes with us now saying, look, you know, we've got all these people missing, and all these over 50s get told, you know, unfortunately, you know, oh, you're too senior, you'll get bored, or, you know, you're probably going to get a better salary and leave, a sort of thing. Do you see a change in over 50? Do you think that's happening, or are we still sort of a bit stuck on new and shiny?
No, I personally think our industry should open up to recruiting the over 50s, because first of all, they're going to have massive experience. And again, it's all about the right person, right fit for your company. But there's a lot of people out there maybe who want to be in work and want to do something and actually need the money, you know, because let's face it, you know, inflation, the cost of everything. So I think providing you, you know, recruit the right person and you have the right support in place, then I think you could have some really loyal, great over 50, you know, workforce that's available to you, and it's going to be reliable and there. But obviously, you know, that's something that each company needs to think for themselves. It reminds me of that, you know, that Intern film with Robert De Niro. Have you ever seen
yeah we saw Good
film with Robert De Niro where he's the intern He obviously turns it all around for the big boss and stuff. I think it's Anne Hathaway, and I love that film. That's a great example of someone having spent all their life doing stuff that's got an absolute fountain of knowledge, and then going back into the workplace, maybe lower down, but fitting in and helping make some good changes. So embrace it.
And you're so right as well, because as an industry, we've got this terrible thing, and I speak to employers and stuff all the time. People always ask for years experience, and then suddenly you get to this point of, well, that's too many years experience.
Yeah.
But if we really want to, and Fast Forward 15 is brilliant at diversity, not just race, but gender and age. If we said, like, what can this person do for the business rather than how long have they done it?
Yeah,
like overnight we could get rid of our talent shortage. Do you know what I mean? And do you, because I know you do consultancy work with people, do you feel there's a real proper, like, we do want to diversify for a reason rather than so we can stick it on a set? Do you feel that momentum is keeping going?
I would say that companies should just have a strategy for recruitment of good people. That's it. Good people. Doesn't matter age, color, race, where they're from, what they, it's about good people. And a lot of the time you can train or develop people if they've got the right attitude and they've got the right passion to do the job. So, obviously skills are important, but I think sometimes we overlook passionate, hardworking people with a great attitude because they don't tick certain boxes. And I think maybe, just sweep away anything and look for good people.
So just before we get on to the next, I'm going to ask you about Fast Forward 15 in a sec, because obviously that ties in nicely there. But we do have lots of people watching. Nobody's commenting. I'm hoping that's because we're in.
Please comment. I'd love to.
Training.
Please feel free. Sorry. I'd love to answer any questions if anyone's got any questions.
No, please, everyone, feel free. But it feels like a really nice time there to talk about Fast Forward 15. I've been involved as much as I can. I do anything. I've just, you told me to sponsor the charity day. I've done that. I'm doing that. We will post a link at the end to the Fast Forward 15 program. I know tickets for the charity event are on sale. Like anything I can do Fast Forward 15, I will. And that's not just you. I genuinely think it's great. Where did that sort of idea come from? Where does, and just give a very quick overview to those under a rock that don't know what Fast Forward 15 is, but just explain that and why you sort of set that up and what's it's doing now.
Okay, so to talk about where it came from first of all. So basically, when I owned Zibrant, we were 75% female, and most of our clients were female. And I was looking at things that I could do to help the women in our business, like how we could be more flexible. And we actually won the Times Top 50 companies for women to work for, which we were one of the only small companies that had ever won it, which was fantastic. And I thought, well, this is a great thing. Not only is it great for my brand and the company's brand, but it's also a good thing to do. So I sort of had that in the back of my mind. And then I was stood at the event 100. And bearing in mind, I at that time was one of the three shareholders that owned Zibrant, 200 people agency. The top 100 people in the events industry were I think there were 78 men and 20 or something like that, or 12 women and 80 something men. And I was like, and I wasn't in it. And I was like, well, hang on a minute, why? Do I have to put myself forward for all these things, or why is it all men? And I went to the organizer and said, why have you got mostly men? And the event industry is 75% women. And she was a bit like, well, they put themselves forward and And I was like, why are we as women not putting ourselves forward for things? And I sort of traced it back and I thought, it's a confidence thing. It's am I good enough? Can I, will I win? Will I be seen to be being, big headed, etc. And so I came up with this idea of, well, people need to be coached and mentored. And, it's something that I would have liked more of. And so I just came up with the idea, Fast Forward 15, and wrote a program, wrote a website, and went out to all the people I knew and said, look, I'm going to do this mentoring thing and coaching thing in the industry. Would you be a mentor? And they all said yes straight away. Wrote a press release, put it out there, and like 250 applicants later, I'm like, oh my God, what have I created? So And luckily at the time I had the Zibrant marketing machine to help me, put it all together, thanks to the guys there, Penny and John and what have you. Yeah, so, and then it just went on from there, and I evolved it. I added things to it. So I did education days. So it wasn't just about the mentoring, and it isn't just throwing two people together. The reason why it is the best program, as far as I'm aware, not only in the industry, but it's one of the best programs that I've seen for mentoring and coaching. So mentees get 10 one-on-one coaching and mentoring sessions with their mentor, and the mentors are hand selected. I match every single person together. And then also, apart from that, they follow a program which I've written. So it's all about getting to know themselves, understanding what they're like, and then setting goals. And so that the end aim of this is that they set a goal at the beginning that they achieve by the end of the program. So there's an outcome. We also do the 2 education days, which are industry events. So C-Event, who sponsor us, and also Confex. And I bring people in from all sorts of parts of the industry, so to talk about sustainability, or how to use TikTok, or how to get your CV or LinkedIn profile, aka you. So bring people in to give them stuff that they can learn, which is great. And then they also, as part of the program, they put on a charity event, which they do with no budget, and their job is to raise money for a charity of their choice, but also some of the money goes back in to help me run FF15. And aside from that, I get them entered into awards. I've got them on panels. So this year we're going to IMEX. We're going to do campfire sessions. We're doing panels at Confex, so please come and see us. And last year 7 of them won a CN 30 under 30. Wow. Jess Hebden's just won Freelancer of the Year, and that was like a field of like 100 people down to 10, and she won it. Charlie from Adventure started a company and she's won multiple awards, so it's about being seen, being confident to say, I'm going to put myself forward for these things. And in between all of that, we do a bi-monthly call with the mentors and mentees. So, and I do that. That's me backing up everything. So this is a program that is governed, and we want to make sure that everyone gets a really good outcome. So it's not just throw 2 people together and let them do whatever. This is, a curated, beautiful thing that by the end of the year, they all come out of it and they're like, oh my God, what have I just done for the last year? I've done everything. It's a bit crazy. And what I would say is, we do want, so we've got lots of women of color, Black, brown, ethnic minority women on the program, and as mentors and as mentees. So this is for them too. And every Monday at the moment with Shanali, I'm doing a program called Someone Like Me, which is to encourage women of color to get involved and be involved in it. And so I'm very conscious of that. But also I want older women. If you're 50 and you want to be a mentee, that's okay. I will match you with someone who has got, incredible experience, and that's okay. I don't know it all. I need mentorship sometimes. So I think it's really important to know that whether you're 20 or you're 55, you can be a mentee on the program. You do have to apply. It is on the website. You do have to apply, and you do go through a process. But even if you don't get a place, we try and bring you into the community, and there's lots of afterwards we'll have a chat with you and maybe give you some top tips or give you a quick mentoring session. So no one goes away empty-handed.
I mean, I'm this year, I love it. I'm doing the CN 30 under 30 and the EN 30 under 30 judging. Yes. And it's like a who's who of alumni from Fast Forward 15. It's fantastic.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good.
Well, that's fantastic. Thanks for that. And that sort of keeps us rolling in as well with where the sector is now. You're in an amazing position that you've been through the sector through lots of change. You've seen things, and now you're still in it, but not. You're able to look over it. Like, what do you see needs change? What would the things, if you could wave that magic wand of yours and say, look, this needs to change right now? What would that be, and why?
What needs to change? Well, I think the whole diversity and the ethnicity thing is firmly on the agenda, which is brilliant. I do think that going forward, we need to take sustainability a lot more seriously. I think at the moment it's still a nice to have, and the reality of it is we all need to be doing something to change the wastage and the stuff that goes on. So I think sustainability is really key. But I also think, I suppose, in terms of employment and people, Flexibility. I think that one of the things that we will all be looking for going forward is flexibility and a decent life, and not to have that burnout and that mental health issue. So I think employers need to be thinking how they can work that to make their employees, happy within their roles, and I think therefore perform better.
Yeah, no, 100%. I
So
100% agree with you.
in summary, it's continue with the good work on diversity and equality. Sustainability has to be, key, and flexibility.
Yeah, we had Meg on as a guest, Meg Stroh, and she works for a company called The Bulb as their head of
Yes.
sustainability. And some of the stuff she was going through is quite simple, but it's hard work, and the biggest thing that I remember coming up was about cost, like clients or end users you're working for say, yeah, we want to be sustainable. And then you go, okay, this is what sustainable means. And she's getting a lot of, oh, I don't know about that.
Interestingly, The Bulb is founded by Selena Donald, who was my mentee in year one.
Really?
Yeah.
If people know me that I don't plan that well, but that was not planned. I'm quite pleased with that.
And she's just, I do a private mentoring program, and she's just joining my private mentoring program this year to help her continue to grow her business. So she's been hugely successful. So yeah, she found her thing, which is great, and I love it.
Look at that, full circle. We do have a comment, I think, from somebody within Fast 15, Hayley. Is Hayley in there now? Hayley
is a mega star. I actually adore her. She's absolutely wonderful. She's on our program currently. She's going to be speaking with me on a panel at Confex, and she's coming out to IMEX. She is someone who is what I call a can-do person. If you ask someone to do something, she's one of those people who goes, me, and I love that, because I think that, if you're not in it, you can't win it, can you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the love for the program is incredible.
Yeah.
Right, let's keep sort of focusing. We've talked a lot about the now. We've talked a lot about what's happening next. If you could sum up, and I sort of think I know what this is going to be based on the title that we've got you on today, but what one thing would you say in your career-wise or linked to your career are you most proud of? What's the one thing that you're like, that for me is something I'll remember forever, and I'm most proud of that?
Oh, can I have two things?
You can't say kids, by the way, because that's, No,
can I have two things? Well, obviously, getting an OBE last year was off the charts. I mean, literally, I was so proud. I just was sad my mum wasn't around, because she would have been literally, beside herself with pride. I think, one of the things I'm really proud of is everywhere I go within the events industry, I talk to people who have had some connection with Fast Forward 15 and the community. And, there's a lovely legacy network there of people who all want to support each other and help each other and learn from each other. And I think that is something I'm really, really proud of. And I hope to continue to grow that and continue to keep building that network, because I talked to you at the beginning about, it's all about relationship referral. So that being part of a network and a community, and like someone go, oh, I'm a Fast Forward 15 mentee, or I've been in the program, or I've mentored, straight away you have a connection. And straight away that gives you a foot in the door for that person to suddenly think, oh, credibility. And yes, they must be a good person. They must, they've been involved in that. That's a good thing. So that's something that I hope to continue to do, to build that legacy, to build that network, and bring as many people in. I'm helping people, but it's sort of like a full circle. The more I help people, the more good stuff comes to me. That's
and it is really. It's so, you're so right. It's so interesting, and I've seen it in the sort of even the 5-6 years that I've been involved with you. Take me back to a networking event 5 years ago talking about Fast Forward 15, and everybody would be like, "What's that?" I've heard of it. Now you sort of say Fast Forward 15, and people go, "Oh my god, yeah, no, that," and they always go face Sharpe and or they know somebody who's been there. And the difficult one is, because people know I know you really well. People say to me, and you can help me out how to deal with this. People say, "Oh, I applied for that and I didn't get it."
Okay.
And I sit there and go, "Oh no."
Well, I would say apply again.
Oh no, I do that, but they look at me and go, "I didn't get it," and I'm like, "Do you think Faye's going to do?" It's not like that. It's not like Isma May, you know.
Do you know what the process? I mean, it's really interesting because a few years ago we put in a Vicky Owens, who's one of the mentors, wrote a recruitment process, or a interview process for us, just to make sure we were completely being objective in our, so we're looking for people that are going to be committed. It is a commitment, and if you were paying for this, you'd be paying 20 grand plus.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
Can
more.
I ask you a quick question? Might be a bit cheeky. Have you ever had anyone say, "No, I don't want to do this anymore," not for personal reasons?
Yeah. Well, I'd say a few years ago, yes. Occasionally you'd have a person, and I get a little bit cross when people do that because they've taken a place from someone who really needed it. So that's why we do a really thorough interview process. So everyone gets interviewed and they get scored against a criteria.
Oh, and brilliant. Okay.
So we can be really objective. So if anyone says, "Well, why didn't I get it?" It's this is what we were looking for, and it is things like commitment and to make sure they've got the time to do it, because it does take time and effort. And if you put in, you get out. That's what I always say to people. What you put in is what comes out for you. But it can be easily managed alongside a normal job. Everyone is full-time working that's on the program at the moment. So I'd say that that helps us be very objective, but also make sure we challenge the person to say, there is this, you need to put this time in, will you be able to do that? And they can then say, yes, I can do, or no, I can't. So originally I think we didn't have that process in place, and occasionally you'd have an odd person who suddenly something happened, or something health wise happened, and then we understand that that comes first. If your health, there's an issue, but we do get people to sign a contract with us. It is a formal agreement.
It's interesting. You talk, it's like that recruitment process, very emotional as well, and I know that us recruiters are supposed to have cold black hearts, but I do a shortlist of 5 or 6 people. Shut up, you. I do a shortlist of 5 or 6 people, but I've spoken to 40 odd people. Only one of them is going to actually be happy, and it's how you do it as well, isn't it? It's how you think.
And we say to the people who don't get a place that it's not because they're not brilliant, because they are brilliant. It's just happens that particular mentor, there also has to be a little bit of a subjective fit. But I do encourage my mentors to pick people who are not like them. Yeah,
no, that's good. So if we were thinking, last couple of questions now, because I know with time, but with everything that you've learned, and let's be honest, we both, everyone makes mistakes. I make them weekly, which isn't probably great. But if you could pick a time in your career from that first 80s hospitality into events to now, one period in time where you could go back and just change something, what would it be? What would you go back and change, and why would you do that?
I wouldn't change anything.
Oh, I bloody love you. I love that.
See, the thing is, right, in life, it's the same with relationships. Look, bottom line is, it's the same with all of it, right? You've got to do what you've done in order to be where you are.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant.
Where I am, I'm really happy. Obviously, there are always things I'd like to do, or things I'd like to have, and I've always got an eye on, what else is there in my life. I'd like to have a lovely, happy life. But you know what? If I drop dead tomorrow, on my gravestone, it would say she lived her life.
Oh, bless you. I love it. And as a final thought then, for people looking to come into the industry, or whatever age, demographic, or anything, what would your advice be? So your takeaway piece of advice for others looking to come into the sector?
Okay. Yeah, I wrote something down here. So first of all, I would encourage people to get out there and network. So meet. Don't just be in your little workplace and doing what you do. You can't grow if you're not meeting people and learning things and doing different things. So I'd say that you've got to be in it to win it. I'd say hard work pays off. So and a bit like I said about Hayley, don't be the person who never volunteers for something. Be that person who's like, I'll do it, hands up. I'm not saying, be everyone's, person for go-to for everything, so that you're taking on everything. But you've got to put yourself out there to actually get experience and to grow. So I'd say put your hand up. If you've got capacity, put your hand up and take on the opportunities as they come through the door.
That is fantastic, and what a great place to end it. And before I finish up, applications are they open now for the next cohort?
So applications for Fast Forward 15, and the only criteria really is that you've got to be in the events, hospitality, or travel industry. Open now until March the 5th, but put your application in soon. They're coming in slowly but surely, all of our lovely people from our industry. Doesn't matter what age you are. You can be, just finishing uni, or you can be well into your career. Everything is confidential, and we welcome everyone. So please apply.
Thanks, Faye. Look, that was amazing. You've shared so many ideas, thoughts, insights. I hope, I'm sure actually everyone listening or watching has now got a bit of a deeper insight into who you are, and especially your love for the industry, and your journey is really interesting. And obviously as a recruiter, it's brilliant to sort of get that insight. I'm sure you've inspired many, many others. So as a quick reminder, this episode and all the others, they're all on the website, www.usas.co.uk, and the YouTube channel. So it will be there for eternity, which I'm not sure is a great idea. You can stay updated for the next episodes via my LinkedIn profile. Just turn on notifications and you'll be reminded of future episodes, or to stay in the know about event recruitment. Thanks to our audience for joining us live. And Faye, before I say bye-bye, any final things from you?
Just keep being passionate, keep putting yourself out there, and be confident and believe in yourself.
Thanks so much, Faye. Thanks for your time.
Bye.
Now that's a wrap for episode 4. There is enough BS in the world already, so don't make recruitment harder, and don't put it on the side of the desk.